like to reconvene the January 12th, 2021 regularly scheduled board meeting. We have a motion to come out of executive session that was made at 6:22. Can I please have a second? Motion was made by Dr. Caution Parker, seconded by Dr. Holmes. Is there any discussion? If we can please have the vote at this time. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. We will now move on to the inspirational moment, Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Mackey.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. I actually had a guest that I wanted to speak tonight, but in light of, I don't know, the situations that are our reality, I decided I wanted to say a few words myself. There are 22.8 million cases of COVID in the U.S., 379,000 deaths of COVID in the U.S. And I say that at every board meeting just to focus on the fact that we keep the main thing. And although we are sitting here navigating educational issues, I want it to be clear that it is not lost on us. The situation in the society that we're living in right now, there were 5 deaths lost at the U.S. Capitol last week. That affects people. The COVID situation, we have kids who are dealing with the trickle-down effects of that. We have parents who are dealing with that. We have teachers who are educating our children in the midst of all of that. What I'm trying to say is that even though we have a pandemic, we have kids who come from homes where they are doing well and they are trying their best to try to get to the next bar, to get the next level of excellence. And we have some children who are struggling to find out where their next meal is going to come from. And we have teachers who are educating our children in the midst of all of that, be it face-to-face or virtual or whatever creative mechanisms they're using to educate our children. I wanted to take a moment just to state the obvious that our teachers, our principals, our superintendent, our executive staff, the people who are interfacing with all of these issues that we're dealing with, social justice issues, health disparities, food issues, meal issues, that we have teachers who are educating the very best that parents have to send to school, the very best situations they have. And I want to take a moment to just acknowledge what our teachers put on the line for our students every day, what our community is doing and rallying together, and just not let it be lost on anyone that anyone or any person in our community, our staff, our schools is taken for granted. So just on my behalf, and I know the board, superintendent, I want to say thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing. And if I want to take a moment of silence just to acknowledge those folks who have been affected by COVID, who have died on the front lines, trying to deal with a pandemic, the state capitol issue, social justice issues. But if we could take a moment just to acknowledge the people who have given so much so that we can be here today and our kids can live the lives that we're living. If you would, just bow your heads with me for a moment of silence. Thank you for that, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me that personal privilege. If we could rise at this moment and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be wonderful. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. We will now have the approval of the agenda. If I can have a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Mackey.
I move to approve the agenda for the January 12th, 2021 regular board meeting of the Richland 2 School Board of Trustees.
Thank you. Motion made by Ms. Mackey. Do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Caution Parker. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote. And the vote passes 6 yes, 1 no. Next, I'll have a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Mackey.
I move to approve the consent agenda for
Thank you.
January 12th, 2021.
Motion made by Ms. Mackey. Do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Holmes. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll please have the vote. Motion passes 7-0. Public participation, item 6.1, we had nobody sign up, so we will move on to executive session items. Item 7.1, student appeals.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am, Dr. Holmes.
I'd like to make a motion that we uphold the district recommendation for the student appeal.
Okay, motion made by Dr. Holmes. Is there any, sorry, can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Mackey. Now, is there any discussion? All right, once the motion comes up, Dr. Holmes, if you'll make sure that's accurate.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll have the vote. Motion passes 7-0. We'll now have item 8.1, Dr. Davis report on superintendent's highlights. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm skipping, man. I am like just trying to zoom through this thing. All right, item 7.2, student admission request. If I can have a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Dr. Holmes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the student admission request into the district adult education program.
Second.
All right, motion made by Dr. Holmes, seconded by Ms. Mackey. Is there any discussion? And with no discussion, we'll have the vote. Motion passes 7-0. There are no items for vote under item 7.3. So we will now move on to item 8.1, report superintendent's highlights. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the board, to our viewing public and those of you who are in attendance with us this evening, good evening to you all. Tonight, I will begin my highlights with updates on issues related to COVID-19. Back in November, Governor Henry McMaster signed an executive order authorizing public schools to administer rapid antigen tests for students and employees experiencing symptoms of COVID-19. Work continues on plans for providing these tests as soon to be identified sites in the district. This testing is optional and will not be administered to any student without parental or guardian consent. Our school nurses are completing the necessary training to give the test. The initial allotment of Binex Now rapid test kits have not been deployed yet, and we are still working through the details of securely storing and disposing of the medical waste. As a reminder, even though we will soon offer these tests, students and/or employees who are experiencing COVID-19 symptoms at home should not come to school or to work. Don McAdams, who is our coordinator for health services, has been very busy in monitoring the COVID-19 vaccine plan with South Carolina DHEC and Prisma Health. As has been reported, 2 COVID-19 vaccines are currently licensed under the emergency use authorization by the FDA. Both vaccines require 2 doses given 21 to 28 days apart. Last week, Ms. McAdams secured the approval for our employees who fall in Phase 1A, which includes school nurses, to receive the vaccine at a Prisma Health hospital. Phase 1B includes those who work in the educational sector. Ms. McAdams is working on the plan for notifying employees about this round of voluntary vaccinations as soon as the South Carolina DHEC announces the start of Phase 1B. Because of the cold chain storage requirements of the currently licensed emergency use authorization vaccines, DHEC will not write standing orders for school nurses to vaccinate staff. Employees will have to go to the designated phase 1B providers to be vaccinated. And if you recall, when we were doing H1N1, we had, I believe, a standing order at that time, and we actually could do H1N1 in the schools. And so we're not able to do that because of the emergency nature of providing the emergency authorization of this vaccine. Now I'll speak a little bit about COVID-19 leave. The Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act and the Emergency Family and Medical Leave Expansion Act, which provided paid leave for many COVID-based absences, expired on December the 31st, 2020. Congress did not mandate employee leave provisions in the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriation Act that was signed into law on December the 26th, 2020. In the light of the ongoing pandemic, however, the district wishes to continue to provide some paid leave outside of our employees' existing sick leave to qualified employees for specified COVID-related reasons. District administrators are working on a plan that will allow the district to continue offering COVID-based emergency paid leave for the following reasons. If the employee has to be absent because they are subject to a DHEC order, quarantine, or isolation, if the employee has COVID-19 symptoms and is seeking a diagnosis, or if the employee must be absent to care for a young child due to COVID-19 exclusions or closures. The provision of the COVID-based emergency paid leave in the circumstances described above balances community safety and the continuation of services and quality instruction while allowing the vast majority of employees relief from having to use sick leave for short-term disruptions caused by COVID-19. We believe that the proposed plan would constitute an emergency leave plan that could be funded through the CARES Act ESSA fund. This past January the 9th, Richland 2 held our annual teacher job fair. And as you can probably guess, we held it virtually, and it was a huge success. We had 100% of the participation, 100% participation from the 120 educators registered to attend. This has not happened in recent memory. For those 120 interviews, we made 38 offers for the 21-22 school year. A big thanks to our Human Resource Department and our school administrators for delivering a successful job fair in the midst of a global pandemic. And I apologize, my mask keeps coming up above my eyes, but I'm gonna stay safe. All right. For the third year in a row, Richland School District 2 is receiving a grant for teaching Black American history. This $10,000 grant will be used to develop and host professional learning opportunities for teachers. Educators will receive guidance in the development of 3 inquiry-based instructional units on Black Americans' military service during war wars, as well as Fort Jackson's role during the wars. The units will be aligned to the 2019 South Carolina Social Studies College and Career Ready Standards. Tonight, we are celebrating several awards and honors. The South Carolina Improvement Council at Round Top Elementary is one of 7 SICs to be named to the South Carolina School Improvement Council's 2021 honor roll for their significant efforts to foster civic engagement and public education. This is the second year in a row that Round Top has earned a spot on the honor roll. Round Top and the other honor roll SICs will continue in the running for the annual Dick and Tunky Riley Award for School Improvement Council's excellence. 5 finalists will be selected in March, with 1 SIC to be announced as the recipient of the annual Riley Award for SIC excellence in April. Now, in this 20th year, the award is named for the former U.S. Secretary of Education and South Carolina Governor and his late wife. With confidence, the latest Rookie Teacher of the Block award winner is navigating the greatest public health emergency of our lifetime with veteran-like skills. Hannah Cummings, a 3rd grade teacher at Round Top Elementary School, has been selected as one of the best new teachers in Richland 2 and is the December 2020 Rookie Teacher of the Block. The award is sponsored by H&R Block. Each month, a first-year teacher is chosen, and then an overall winner, Rookie Teacher of the Year will be selected. I don't know if you remember OT, but Otiana O.T. Thompson is a 2019 Ridgeview High School graduate. recently won the Black College Quiz sponsored by State Farm. Facing off against 20 other students, Thompson won the national competition and walked away with an $8,500 scholarship. Thompson attended Summit Parkway Middle School and competed in the district's Quiz Whiz tournament that features 6th through 8th graders from all 7 of our district middle schools. She and her Summit Parkway team, coached by Dr. Allison Benoit and Deborah Robinson, won the 2015 Quiz Whiz tournament. She's now preparing for the 2021 Honda Campus All-Star Challenge. Richland 2 high schools continue their annual tradition and gave from the heart to make the holidays brighter for many in the Midlands. Each of the district's 5 high schools, in cooperation with elementary and middle schools, successfully held student-led school-wide service projects designated to encourage students to explore, understand, and address needs within our community. Combined, the schools donated more than 33,499 non-perishable food items. I wish we could have found one more perishable food item to round that out. And $3,000 for Harvest Hope and Christian Assistance Bridge. We provided 18,800 meals, 140 turkeys, 1,653 toiletry items, $8,500 for Make-A-Wish, 800 toys, 600 books, 342 toys for dogs and shelters, 180 National Health Center goodie bags, 51 bikes, and 35 coats for transition homeless centers. Additionally, pints of blood, socks, and outreach bags were donated. 113 families were supported through WIS Families Helping Families, and the district office employees supported 70 Richland 2 families. Thank you to everyone who made a difference for the many families in our community. And last but not least, as January is School Board Recognition Month, I conclude my highlights tonight by thanking our 7 school board members, our chairman, James Manning, our vice chair, Dr. Teresa Holmes, our secretary, Dr. Cheryl Caution Parker, and our remaining board members, the Honorable Lindsay Agostini, the Honorable Dr. Monica Elkins, and the Honorable LaShonda McFadden, and the Honorable Amelia Mackey. During this month, I asked the Richland 2 family to join me in a heartfelt thank you to our board members for setting the direction to prepare all students to be competitive in a local, state, national, and global 21st century knowledge economy, for working with parents, businesses, educators, and community members to represent their views and create the premier educational vision our schools and students deserve, and for above all, for always advocating for public education. Honorable board members, we appreciate your leadership and we thank you for your service. That concludes Superintendent's highlights for this board meeting.
Thank you very much, Dr. Davis, and thank you for the note of appreciation for the board and the work that we do. Next, we have item 8.2, an update on legislative issues. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, members of the board, we are going to provide you tonight with information regarding the legislative issues in our legislative update. Tonight, we'll begin providing a monthly legislative update as part of our board meetings. This update is not new. On and off for several years, the board has included a legislative update on the agenda, especially during the state legislative session. The updates are starting tonight. However, they are unique because for the first time, they are part of a district's goal to have an impact on legislative issues connected to public education. The South Carolina legislature began the first session of the 124th South Carolina General Assembly today. As such, there's not a lot to report in terms of the status of key pieces of legislation. However, we did want to share the resources that will help our efforts in this area. We pulled together some links to the calendars and meeting schedules for the Senate and for the House, and you can see those on the screen as well. They should have been shared with you all. Members of the South Carolina House of Representatives submitted pre-filed bills on December the 9th as well as December the 16th, and the Senate submitted pre-filed bills on December the 9th. Provided here are links to documents listing all of the pre-filed bills with the education-related bills noted for you. So you can take a look here and see that we have the authorization. We'll go back one. No. Forward. Should be slide 5. Is this it? Yeah. Here you can see we have the bills, the pre-filed bills that are education focused, the authorization of the State Inspector General. We have the employer-employee contribution, per pupil cost transfer, relating to audits of school districts, related to school fees, related to educational capital improvement sales. Next slide. And I'll just let you all peruse these slides. Supporting Teachers Act, teacher bonuses, S61, teacher recruitment and retention, teacher salary requirements, increase in pay for national board certification. Relating to the removal of the $10,000 earning limitation, exempt certified educators from the earning limitation. Education credit and exceptional needs expansion as well. During the November board work session, I shared that a team of district administrators and I had reviewed the legislative resolutions put forth by the South Carolina School Boards Association. We recommended supporting all of the resolutions and called to your attention resolutions that address issues where our district needed to pay close attention to. Those issues include education funding, teacher salaries, retired teacher salary cap, tuition tax credit, early childhood education, education achievement gap and graduation rates, school start date, and broadband expansion. In the slides that were just flipped through, we have listed all of the pre-filed bills that are related to those specific issues. It is important to note that these bills are only pre-filed and referred to committee at this point. Many may remain in committee for quite some time. We do, however, want you to be aware of what will potentially be on the legislative agenda for the upcoming session. The last part of the state level information included in the update is the Richland County delegation, which includes the members of the South Carolina Senate who represent Richland County and the members of the South Carolina House of Representatives who represent Richland County. And we plan to reach out and connect with each and every one of these individuals. Lastly, we want to share the information about the Richland County Council members. And on January 5th, 2021, 5 new members of the Richland County Council were sworn into office. At a meeting held that same day, the council elected the Honorable Paul Livingston as the chair, and the County Council and the Honorable Vaughn McBride as vice chair. This information concludes our legislative update. My team and I stand ready to answer any questions that you may have.
Yes, Dr. Holmes. Dr. Holmes, yeah.
Okay. Am I on now? Okay. Thank you for doing that, Dr. Davis. I really appreciate that. I did have one question though. So as we clicked on your hyperlinks, I did notice that there were other items that were up for the legislative thing that I thought just passing through that just came to mind. That one thing for my fellow board members, they might want to take a look at, and that would be about the testing and changing the testing requirements. That's one thing. And then there was an article there also about continue the takeover of specific boards that was still on the table. And there were a few other items but the testing was one of the big ones that I wanted everybody kind of look at also. I know we can't focus on everything, but I just wanted to make mention that when you go back and look at, and thank you for doing that again, you click on that hyperlink on that page, it takes you to all of them and it actually gives you the statutes. Because I looked through all of them today, but I wanted my board members to know that if we're focusing on specific ones, that's fine, but I don't want to limit ourselves to focusing on specific ones when I know that there's some things that may address some other people's concerns.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Davis.
Thank you.
Board members, other questions or comments? Ms. Mackey?
Just a comment to Dr. Miley and Ms. Ruth and the people who prepared this. It's a darn good looking report. Thank you. It's very comprehensive in itself. I just wanted to state the obvious. That's a very comprehensive and helpful report. And just a comment, as you click on the Senate calendars and the House calendars and meeting schedule, it changes every week, Tuesday through Wednesday. Thursday is a legislative week. And if you click on that every Friday, that link, then it'll let you know the schedule for the following week. But thank you for this outstanding report.
All right, other board members, questions or comments? Dr. Davis, thank you very much. Item 8.3, report on the Richland School District 2 Charter High School. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the board, to our viewing public, as well as those of you in attendance this evening, we have coming before us this evening to give a report on the Richland 2 Charter High School, Dr. Perry Mills, who serves as principal of the Charter High School. Dr. Mills, the floor is yours. Appreciate the purple tie, looks good.
I thought it was red at first. Am I on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Richland 2 Board of Trustees and executive staff of Richland 2. Thank you for an opportunity to come before you again, my annual trip to stand before you to give a report about charter school. As you all know, you may have heard the charter school is going through some turmoil right now, but we're still in the fight to continue to do what we can for our students and save our school at the same time. So tonight I'm going to give some brief information about our current status and things that we're doing to improve our school as time goes on throughout this process. Here I have the school board members' names listed that was a part of the 1920. And I want to spell that out because as I shared it with my board last night, we had our meeting last night, the new names are not on here. So I did want to recognize Brian Davis, works for the City of Columbia, is a new board member for us. Rhonda Sherman, who's assistant director at Webster University in Columbia, is now on our board. Cheryl Guy, who left, Matt Sherman from Blythewood High School is on our board now. And so we may remember Lynn Ledoux, retired educator in the district. Lynn Ledoux is on our board as well.
And who's your current chair?
Shelley, I'm sorry, Shelley's still
Shelley's
chair.
still your chair,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Sorry, thank you.
Our mission, again, you all had this earlier. I don't want to read through it in a little bit of time, but our mission, our vision continues. Last year, I shared with you all, of course, a 2-year trend. I added 2020 in, obviously because of 2020 this year, with some of the testing not being reported, our unsatisfactory status still remains for our rating overall. Going down to each of the sections, the academic achievement, again, is NA for the 2020 school year for math and English, as well as biology and U.S. history, no reportings for that. So those are the things that was part of our goals also as to raise our ELC scores. However, they were not calculated for the report card for this current year. Only thing that was calculated for the most part was our graduation rate, and I'll get to that shortly. The graduation rate, here we did not earn any points, but I'll show on a later slide that we did increase our graduation rate. Basically, we doubled it from what it was the previous year, from 29.8% to 59.6% this year. Obviously, it's still not the 70% that we are supposed to have, but we're still making strides to improve to get to where we need to be. College and career readiness also not reported. However, we did have some growth in that area that we tracked on our own, and I'll share that with you also. As well, and same thing with our student engagement. The goals that are listed here were the goals for the 2019-20 school year. And I specify that because the goals have changed well, our goals for the district and our contract has not changed, but the goals I have for my progress monitoring tool for the State Department of Education in connection with our CSI status, those change after we had our diagnostic review from Cognia. But again, our goals are to increase our graduation rate by 5% each year until we reach 70% and beyond, to increase our ELC scores with C or better by at least 25% until we reach our overall goal of obviously 100% we would love to have, and earn 20 out of 25 points to start off with our first goal for college and career readiness. This is a picture of our progress monitoring tool for 2019-2020. This is a tool that I have to send to the State Department of Education. As you can see, that was due on August 31st, 2020. Everything that we were doing to track our progress and what we were doing in relation to our goals. The first block is blank for this year, 1920, but if the 2021, there is an improvement priority there after our visit on March 1st through the 4th. So we do have 3 improvement priorities that came from Cognia. But on this particular one for 1920, school year that I'm reporting, there was no improvement priorities at that time. So we went with the goals that we still had it, and our action plans and things that we're going to do to reach that, our funding source, and our data sources. The thing I did want to point out is the chart of how we were tracking this throughout the year. It's a little busy, so I apologize in advance for that. But at the top, you'll see we had our benchmark testing in the fall, benchmark testing in the winter, and then there was scheduled benchmark tests for the spring, but we all know what happened during that time. So in parentheses, you see in red, we did not take benchmark testing at that time. But if you go back to the one in the fall, you'll see algebra, biology, English, and US history, and how we calculated how many students, what percentage of our students made A's, B's, C's, D's, and F's, and how that changed slightly, some for the better, some for the worse in the fall. So the benchmark 3 does not show benchmark tests. However, it does show what our students ended up with at the end of the school year for their report card. So again, it's like mixing a little bit of apples and oranges, but we wanted to at least report the end of the year success of our students. And so the benchmark 3 does not indicate a benchmark test, but it indicates what the students made by the end of the school year. Below that, our attendance, because we know attendance have really taken a huge hit in a lot of places, especially with us as well. On the first column during the fall, attendance was a lot better. You saw it drop down some in the winter. And then during the spring, we really took a big hit with students being disengaged. And I think that was a statewide concern for almost everyone at that time. Our second goal was to increase our college and career readiness points earned. Again, our action plan and activities are listed below there, the funding source and the data source. And I'll go back and say our funding source, along with this chart that we have to provide, the progress monitoring chart, we have a transformation coach that is still working with us. And we are blessed to have I'll call her the best one in the state, Miss Malika Stubbs. She's working with us as our transformation coach, helping us build our capacity from the teacher standpoint, administration, and throughout the entire school, even through our guidance department as well. And so they also give us money in regards to being a CSI school at the tune of about $75,000, and that money goes toward doing things to carry out our activities and our plans. This chart with our college and career readiness, October, February, and June. Obviously, by June, we were planning to do it at the end of the year around April or May, but we were out of school. In October, we had 3 students that passed ASVAB and 9 with the WIN test. These are our graduates, students who are scheduled to graduate. So our CCR total, the number of 69 at the bottom was what, excuse me, the number of students that we had tracking at one point that was in a particular 9GR, but then we started to calculate those who graduated because that's what the CCR was going to cover the graduates of that year. And so in February, we did not increase our ASVAB test scores, but we did get an additional 8 students successful with the WIN test. And that number 53 was now our clean list of seniors we had in the building. Moving over to June, again, there was no testing done, but then the 39 represents the number of students we did have graduate during last year in June of 2020. And of those 39 students, 24 were CCR. If you do the math, you probably say, where are the other numbers? I see 9 and 8 and 3 does not equal 24. those are ones that we tracked that earned it in our school. Some of them came to us already having been CCR, so that's where the number came from, to give us our 61% of CCR students for the year. And our third goal, obviously to raise our graduation rate. Again, the listed activities that we had planned, fund source, remains the same, and the data that we were tracking. In October, the number of seniors, a percentage of seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen, and the number of dropout. What we were doing is concentrate on our 9GR 17 students. Those were the students that we had to get across the stage by June of 2020 in order to work on our high school graduation rate. And so we identified all the students that were in those categories. And in February, some of those students at the end of the first semester had gotten promoted. We had a couple that we lost, a couple that came in, so the numbers changed slightly. But the overall number at the end of our seniors, we were tracking 52.8%, but as I mentioned, it ended up being 59.6%. What happens is students who graduated the year prior, they're still counted towards our numbers the year of their cohort. So if you graduate early, we count you the year of your normal cohorts, and that's why our numbers were estimated at 52, but ended up being 59.6. And the chart at the bottom is just a repeat of the ELC scores that we just went over earlier. Our enrollment last year, as you can tell, did not go past 81. We had a really tough year with enrollment. And I don't have a slide for this year's enrollment, but obviously I do want to share with you all, our enrollment this year is less than 40 students. Actually, we have 38 students in the school. And anyone who's been in the school knows you cannot operate a school with 38 students in regards to revenue. So we are in the process now of working with a local marketing company. We sent out flyers. I've been in communication with Dr. Manigault about students that you all could not receive at R2I2 school to see if they still wanted a different option. And now we're working with our social media, again, through the marketing company. Last night at our board meeting, my board put together some more points of contact for a marketing committee within our school board to reach out to different ones in the community that can support what we need to do in our school. But it's a struggle. We have not increased our enrollment this year. We're anticipating with the COVID-19 that in August we would have gotten an influx of students. That was our thoughts, our hopes, but that didn't happen. I guess there's so many other opportunities and choices now, so we were hoping for something that never took place, unfortunately. This is kind of difficult to see, but on the left-hand side, I wanted to show, in September 2019, I'm a visual person. I want to do a data wall. And so we had, to the far left, those green stickers on the wall represented students who were targeted to graduate on time for that school year. The pink stickers were those students who were already past their 9GR. So it gave us a visual to see what students we were working with by name and what we had to do to work with them to make sure we got them where they needed to be on time. So you notice in the middle, in the second column, those are our juniors, our sophomores, and our freshmen. And unfortunately, there's too many green cards going to the right. Those kids were supposed to be graduating this year. That's why our numbers were where they were. And obviously, a student who's a green card still in the 9th grade, we had some students who just really did not work. The charter school did not work out for them for the time they got there. But by June, if you see the chart to the right-hand side, again, those are the pink cards and the green cards. So here we ended up with 24 graduates on time. The pink cards represent 11 students who had already passed their 9GR graduation date. But I like to still say that that's a success as well, because those are still students that graduated, maybe a year late, maybe 2 years late, but they hung in there and they still graduated. And even with the yellow cards, we had 3 students, is it 3? Yeah, 3 students that were juniors that graduated early, and we even had a blue card there that represented a sophomore. We had a young man who graduated high school in 2 years from our school this year. And so there's some success, and that was all done because we highlighted and we focused on our 9GR students, and we're doing the same thing this year. So everything we did last year, we're doing it this year, but we amped it up a little bit more to still trace these students and make sure they're successful. This is just an example of every month I produce a calendar. Our Fridays, even before the pandemic, we never had students on Fridays. They could come in Friday mornings for extra tutoring and support, but our Friday afternoons was left for us to have our staff meetings, school improvement team meetings. And one of the things I'm going to share in a second from our improvement priorities, we're now doing a lot of blended learning within the school and MTSS as a part of the cognitive visit, losing my train of thought. These are I just kind of pull these things. This is what's going to go on, well, they're already on my progress monitoring tool, the one I showed in the beginning. This is the progress monitoring tool for the 2021 school year, where now that we have an improvement priority, there's a new goal with the State Department that has to line up with our improvement priority. And then again, our action plans for that. So this is the first one. I'm not going to read it in its entirety, but it's establish and implement structures to support ongoing, continuous, and collaborative school improvement. If you notice a little bit further in there, within the third line, every one of our improvement priorities highlighted blended learning. When the team came in, they realized that our school, the way it was set up and structured, that blended learning was the best way for us to go. And so that was pushed to us a lot during the visit and during our debrief at the end. Improvement priority number 2, plan to deliver professional learning process for modified instruction. Again, you see later on within that sentence, practices for blended learning environment. So even this one with professional development still highlights the need for us to have training and professional development in blended learning. And the goal here is for all of our teachers 100% to participate in a minimum of 5 professional development seminars face-to-face with blended learning platform to support our student learning. And our third priority was simply align with the resource allocations. The State Department gives us the money, so we have to make sure that the funds that we receive are aligned with the goals and improvement priorities that were given to us. And obviously my goal there is to make sure I utilize 100% of the funds to support our ongoing goals and improvement priorities. We had a small graduation class, as you all were there. Remember, it's only 39 students, but this is where they all ended up during the 1920 school year, during June 20. 4 in college, 1 in the military, 18 employed, and 16 we cannot track down because I guess, again, getting to the end of the year, it was hard to find students to even come to school. So a lot of those that had graduated really lost track of some of those students. That's all I have. Any questions from the board?
Thank you, Dr. Mills. Questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Lindsay, or I'm sorry, Ms. Agostine. Yeah,
That's what the kids call me at the swimming pool. Thank you so much for your presentation. I was curious, what's your schedule been like during the pandemic?
What we've tried to do is make sure we model the Richland 2 as much as we can, because we have parents who have students at the charter school and some in the traditional school. So when Richland 2 is off, we're off. But our schedule remained the same, where we had our 3 hours and 15 minutes in the morning. We still had our AB. We have an AABB Monday, Tuesday, and the Wednesday, Thursday. Students who come in the morning, students come in the afternoon, So there's really, really small classrooms. We may walk in the building during their days and have 5 students in a classroom.
So your kids were in the building the same time
Correct.
Ours were. Okay, thank you.
And they're going to be back on the 19th, like Richland 2 students.
Okay, and then how many teachers do you have at the school?
1 English, 1 math, 1 part-time science, 1 part-time resource. That's all and my school council, that's the only certified staff I have. And then I have a work-based learner and a testing and tutoring coordinator that helps with our students with their electives.
Okay, and then this is just an in general question. When we're talking about the EOC and the kids, and I'm sorry, I'm just a little foggy, but the kids didn't take the EOC last year, correct? Because the testing was canceled at the end of the school year. So what happens to those kids this year? This is just an in general. Will they be now taking the EOC, or do they just not have to take it?
Yeah.
I think I got it. We've not received a waiver to not allowing us not to administer the EOC. As a matter of fact, in a previous board meeting, we voted to reduce we had the ability to reduce the required 20%, mandatory 20% as a final grade. We did that knowing that we had to give and administer the EOC to all of our students. So they are required to take the EOC. As of today, they are still required to take the EOC. And we have students taking the EOC wrapping up first semester now.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand, but those kids that didn't take it last year are now going to be expected to take it this year?
No.
They're not?
They're not.
Okay, that was all right, thank you.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Elkins.
Dr. Mills, thank you so much for the presentation. Just want to know, I was a little leery about us allowing ninth graders to be a part of the program at the school. Can you tell me how many ninth graders you have and what has been the success rate of those ninth graders?
Currently, I think our ninth grade is around 6 students. And of course, there have been repeat ninth graders. And we have one in particular have repeated ninth grade 3 times, or in the 3rd time. So that success rate for our ninth graders is not where it needs to be. It's not
Okay,
good.
and I asked that because, that was concern for me, especially working in a high school. We know that when ninth graders come, that builds their foundation for the entire school year, especially with their GPA. And I think that's something I would love for us to go back and revisit to see if that's something we need to continue to do with ninth grade students, or should we just increase the numbers in 10th, 11th, and 12th and remove ninth grade? So I would love to have that conversation whenever we can with the board to see the success rate or how we can promote our ninth graders with being successful.
And one of the things that we did also, we looked at some of our numbers of our ninth graders in regards to EOC. Some of them that may have passed English but failed math or whatever the case may be. We had about 78 to 80% of our students came to us with an EOC score. And when they come to us with that EOC score, it becomes my score then. And so if that score wasn't where it needed to be in their home school, it now becomes mine when they come to my school. So a lot
basically
of it,
you inherited
yes, ma'am.
part of that.
Some of that, yes.
Do we require some of those students to have after-school tutoring? So
Yes,
it is required?
We have Friday school for the students who are falling behind in pacing or academics. Okay. We have Friday school, and we have that now. Right now, we're focused on the 9GR 18 students for graduation, and then we're going to start picking up everyone else. But right now, we really want to focus on the graduation rate. But we do have that opportunity open, and then at certain times, it's also mandated that they come.
Okay, and my final question. When we do enroll these ninth graders, and of course they're repeaters, what is the success rate with them getting credits if they realize that it's not a good fit for them and they want to return back to their home school?
What I normally try to do is work with them to give us at least the first semester to see what we can do with them, because to make sure they have a clean break. Instead of going back at the end of a quarter when you're really not earning anything. So we try to push them as much as we can. The other thing that we're doing now, I know a lot of you remember Dr. Budd, and she's working with me also to help me out with some of this stuff. She's coming in, she's gonna be here at the end of the month working with me again. But we're looking at those students who we can also offer that credit recovery to kind of catch up those students, because we see where a lot of them came to us between that 50 and 59, but never went and got the credit recovery. So now that they're our students, we're looking at trying to get them the credit recovery within that year of time.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Holmes?
Just a quick question. What's the percentage of special needs students that you have at your school?
Oh, this year is very low. We probably have less than 10%. Matter of fact, it's probably 4%, I believe it is.
About 4%?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Our numbers are so small, about 4%. My resource teacher, I think she's seeing 5 students total.
Okay, thank you.
Other board members, questions or comments? And I want to thank Dr. Caution Parker. I know you're our liaison currently, right, with the charter school. So thank you for all of y'all working together as it relates to the 2 groups.
She hears my cries every month.
Yeah. Dr. Mills, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next we have item 9.1, approval of the Ad Hoc Legislative Committee. So as a board, we have the ability to create subcommittees of the board. One of the things that, and Dr. Davis mentioned it earlier, and I think all of us have agreed that we want to have more impact, not just discussion, as it relates to legislative issues, both at county council level, at the state level. One of the things that we have to do in order to do that is for the board to get on the same page as to what it is exactly that we're going to support, which bills we support, which ones we don't, what changes we want to see in those bills. Because of the amount of work that that's going to take, I've requested that we look at a committee or subcommittee to do that work and then bring back to the full board their recommendation, and the full board would then vote on what that agenda is, so that then staff and board members, when we're working with our legislators, county council members, and others, we're all on the same page as to what we support and how we support that. So my request tonight, I can't create that committee. As the board chair, the board has to vote to create that committee. Ad hoc, meaning it would only be in place long enough to do the work of bringing to the full board the recommended agenda, and then once that's done, then that committee would be dissolved and not continue. So we can't have, because it's action requested, I do need a motion and a second before we can have discussion. So if I could have, if everybody understands what the intent is, then I will take a motion to create the subcommittee.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Mackey?
I move to create an ad hoc legislative committee for the Richland 2 School Board of Trustees.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Dr. Caution Parker. At this time, is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Agostini.
in terms of time commitment, what do you anticipate?
I don't know exactly. Our typical committee format, we have 3 board members who are assigned, because we can't have majority of the board because that committee can't take action. So we don't want to put us in a position of the majority meeting. So the 3 selected members, I don't know how much they would meet. I'm sure a lot of it could be done via Zoom, but it would be in coordination with whoever leads that committee and staff as to how much time exactly is needed to get the work done.
Okay, and only three members sitting on the committee?
Officially, yes, because
Okay,
I can't have
So those would be elected by the board?
I can't have a quorum.
Yeah, so a quorum is 5, but,
Well, it depends on how you look at it. We've gone back and forth on the quorum, and I've been told I can't have more than 4, even though 5 is an official quorum. We've also had legal counsel tell us that 4 also constitutes in some cases a quorum, and so that's why we stuck to 3.
okay. All right, thank you.
You're
Well, will we vote, then the board will vote on who is on the
No, the
committee?
board chair appoints committee members
Okay.
based off of our current policy. Other questions? All right, with that, we'll have the vote. Motion passes 7-0. So I'll put together, I'll notify everyone of the committee members, and I'll have Dr. Davis and staff reach out to help set up the meetings and get that work going. So, and I do want to thank Dr. Davis and staff, because I know it's going to be some time on your part as well, but thank you for working with us. And I'm excited that this is the first time that we will have had an official sort of legislative agenda as a board. So I'm really excited about us taking that first step and getting us to that point. Thank you. Next, we have item 10.1, draft agenda items for the January 26th meeting. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the board, if I can draw your attention to section 8, new business, no action requested, where you see superintendent's highlights and board appreciation. I would like to add an omitted item, which is the report from our opportunity knowledge gap update or report from our academic team. So they're going to be providing you with information and highlighting some information regarding the opportunity gap and the work that we're doing around that. That is an omission from this agenda that needs to be added. And so if you look at the draft agenda, the items are as stated. The call to order, we will start our executive session right now, slated to begin at 5:30, with public session starting at 6, with our call to order. In executive session, we have the items that relate to our student appeals and student admissions requests into our district's adult education program. At this time, as you know, those can change depending on whether or not we have any appeals or any admissions to our district's adult education program. We'll have the inspirational moment at 3.1, which will be followed by the approval of the agenda and then subsequently followed by the approval of our consent agenda. We'll have our first public participation at 6.1, and at 7.1, we'll have the voting items on executive session. Voting on executive session items, should there be any. This will then be followed by the new business, no action request, where we will have the highlights, the board appreciation, and the update or information regarding our opportunity knowledge gap. And we may play with those a little bit and make the appreciation, I think is probably due to appreciation at the end, to wrap that up with something very positive and appreciative of the service of our board members. We'll then ask for the approval or review the draft agenda for the February 9th meeting, and then follow that with asking for the approval of that draft agenda, followed by a second public participation if needed. Board and superintendent comments if needed. Board and superintendent comments, our executive session number 2 if it's needed, and voting items should that be needed as well, and then ask for adjournment, Mr. Chair.
All right. Any questions or comments on the draft agenda?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Elkins.
I would like to request that we add policy ADD, face coverings, to the January 26th agenda for discussion.
Okay. So you're making basically making a motion.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a motion from Dr. Elkins Johnson to add the face coverings policy. She listed the actual.
Right. And I'm making this motion because I've noticed that our practice is not in line with the policy we have written. So I'd love for us to discuss that so the practice and the policy can align.
All right, motion's made by Dr. Elkins Johnson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Agostini. Is there any discussion?
Okay.
Ms. Mackey?
Yeah, I just want a clarification as to is there a problem with our policy with regard to, the policy discuss wearing masks and we wear them. So I'm just wanted to know what the clarification is are we changing policy, or what's the recommendation?
Dr. Elkins?
Just asking for clarification.
Yeah, we're not changing the policy. The policy was written back at the beginning, back in March, and I think we need to go back to revisit it to add additions to the policy to make sure it aligns with the practice that we have. And Dr. Davis.
Dr. Elkins Johnson's request, Dr. Elkins Johnson is stating in a discussion that she and I had, we are practicing in our efforts to remain safe. We are practicing 6 feet and a mask when possible. I think the CDC guidelines, and Dawn McAdams is here, I believe the CDC guidelines and DHEC guidance still states when not possible, but that's not what we're practicing. And Dr. Elkins Johnson and I talked about that. We're not practicing that. We are practicing 6 feet and a mask when possible, not 6 feet or a mask. And I believe our policy, which was written back in September, was stating, it states 6 feet or a mask. But we are practicing 6 feet and a mask when possible. It's 6 feet or a mask when possible in the policy as it's currently written.
So what you're saying, I'm sorry, Mr. Manning.
Go ahead, Ms. Mackey.
So what you're saying is that a recommendation to change the policy to read 6 feet and a mask?
It would, in order for the practice to directly align with the policy, it would have to be changed to and from or.
But Dr. Davis, to be clear, the administration is not requesting this change. This is a request. We are following and. Right. Okay.
That is what we have communicated to staff, that we are wearing our mask, whether we're 6 feet or not, in front of one another. Our goal is to continue to wear our mask. Now, there have, of course, been situations where people are 20 feet apart. Some will wear their mask and some will not. But when you are, whether you're 6, 7, 8, 3, we're practicing and speaking to our staff is 6 feet and the mask. That's to help us keep us safe.
Ms. Mackey, did you?
Gotcha. No,
Yep.
go ahead.
Dr. Kasha Parker.
So we're just talking about a verbiage change? Is that it?
I believe Dr. Elkins Johnson's request is to discuss it.
Dr.
And she can
Parker,
speak
hit you.
more directly on that, but I believe she's asking that we bring this policy to board meeting for the purpose of discussing the policy.
Right.
I don't know if she's asking that we change it as of right now, but a motion could be made to make that change, and that could be voted on at that board meeting if that is indeed the desire of the board.
Dr. Elkins, did you have any additional comment or?
No, I would like to have a discussion, and then if it warrants a change, then we change it.
Okay.
Dr. Elkins Johnson, did I accurately reflect that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So I
Dr.
guess
Caution.
I'm still
You're fine.
confused. So we're going to discuss the policy, but really what we're saying is a verbiage change. Go
Well,
from or to and or and to or.
So the discussion, the way
So
that,
it'll be-
if it went on the agenda, it would be up for discussion, not for action at the next meeting. If the board determined that there needed to be action, then we would have the staff come back with the recommended change, and we would then vote on the recommended changes. So she's asking for this to be a discussion, not an action item.
But to be clear, Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am?
and Dr. Davis, rather, the staff is practicing, and the staff is practicing masks and social distancing as it is. Is that correct?
That is our expectation as
Right.
a staff. That is what we have been communicating to
Thank
our
you.
staff, that we are to practice 6 feet and a mask, particularly when we are in a closed environment around students and one another.
So
Again, I can state that I'm sure there are instances where we may be outside on district property and you may be alone and you don't we're not enforcing that you have to wear your mask from the door to the car if you're clearly outside by yourself. But most individuals from our observation here at the district office continue to wear their mask until they get in the car and wear their mask until they enter the building. But while we're here on campuses and in the buildings, we are asking that you wear your mask is 6 feet and mask. And I will try to pull the policy up while we're
So essentially, Dr. Davis, the administrative practice is more restrictive than the policy, but it's within policy guidelines currently. And Dr. Elkins is asking us to have a discussion because Dr. Elkins, my understanding is you would like to go ahead and align the policy with the
Absolutely.
actual practice.
Yes.
Okay. Does the board need more information in order to understand whether we need to put this item to
But-
vote on?
Since it's not on the agenda tonight, I'm not sure if we can really discuss it. So I'd like to have time on the agenda for the next board meeting to discuss it. And it also gives the board members an opportunity to go back and read it. I know Dr. Davis sent it out to everyone, but I'm not sure if everyone had the opportunity to actually read it.
Okay. So I think there's enough information for everybody to determine whether we want to vote to have it put on the agenda for discussion at the next meeting. That's what the motion is.
Yes.
It's been seconded. If there's no further questions, we'll go ahead and take the vote on whether we want to have that added to the agenda or not. Selena? Hand vote? Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. All against, raise your right hand. And anybody abstaining? LaShawn, I didn't see your vote. We should have put it on. Okay, so it fails 4-3. So we are back to the original draft agenda. Are there any other motions to the draft agenda? All right, with that, we will move on to item 11.1, approval of the draft agenda. If I can please have a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am, Ms.
I
Mackey.
move to approve the draft agenda items for the January 26, 2021 regular board meeting of the Richland 2 School Board of Trustees.
Motion's been made by Ms. Mackey. Do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Caution Parker. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote. Motion passes 6 yes, 1 no. We'll next move on to public participation 2, which again, we have no one signed up. And we will end with item 13.1, board and superintendent comments. I'm going to start with Dr. Caution Parker.
I think we've had a very good meeting this evening. I appreciate Dr. Perry's report. I can say in attending the board meetings, even though I don't have a vote as a liaison with the charter school, that there's a lot of hard work going on there and a lot of dedication. And I appreciate, as an individual, I appreciate the support from the district office for the charter school and for Dr. Perry and what he's trying to do there. I like the highlights, the superintendent highlights. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So hopefully we will continue with that. Far many more meetings to come. Other than that, that's it. And Happy New Year to everybody, and glad we're all back.
Thank you. Dr. Holmes?
I'd just like to say Happy New Year to everybody, first of all. And also thank you, Libby and your team and whoever put together the legislative report, because that was a lot of extensive work. We really appreciate that. And thank you, Dr. Davis and Mr. Chair, for having the foresight to push forward with that, because I've been one of the people, and with several other of our board members, who have said that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. You have to have a seat at the table to be able to know what's going on and be a participant in it. And unless we're doing that, we're just sitting back being observers and not actual people that take action. And I think as elected officials that represent a district that has 28,000 people, we have to become an active body that has a voice and has a seat at the table. So I appreciate that. Also, I'd like to say, if you notice, I am wearing the lovely colors of my great sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, the #1 sorority. I'm sorry, ladies. I'm just kidding, but we're all sisters. It is our Founders Day tomorrow, so I'm saying to all my educated sorors, ooh, my sorors, I love you. And with that, you all have a great evening.
Thank you. Dr. Elkins?
Just like to say Happy New Year to everyone. Continue to wear your mask, continue to be safe. And for my constituents, the 32,061 of you, just know that I will continue to represent you. I think about the quote when it says, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And with that, I have great news for you. I will start a monthly community meeting with me as your representative, where you can come and talk with me, share things, and I will represent you. And the first thing we're gonna start with is face coverings and masks. So I will get back with you via social media, and if you have any questions and concerns, I will give my information out there, and we'll continue to fight for you, your safety of your students, teachers, faculty, and staff, your educational needs, because you voted me in to have a voice for you. But as you can see, sometimes colleagues try to block you when you want to have a discussion about something. So we will not be blocked. We will continue to fight for your rights and what you want. So be on the lookout for my community meetings, and we continue to talk so I can continue to be your voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Elkins. Ms. Agostini?
I too would like to wish everybody a Happy New Year. Thank you, Dr. Mills, for your presentation, and have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McFadden?
I would like to say Happy New Year to everyone as well. And I want to say to everyone that's sending me emails, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I am reading them and I am going through them. And, I just want to let everyone know that, give us time to make the decisions that we need to make. We all are in the best interest of everyone, believe it or not. But I just want to say that we're trying to do our best. I know that some people feel one way and some people feel another, but we're all here having discussions about everyone and what's the best interest for everyone. So I want to say thank you to everyone that's sending me emails. If you haven't sent me an email, I will read it, just send it, and so that I can get a clear picture on what everyone wants and what they desire. Because if you don't let us know, we don't know. And we can't come together to make a joint decision on behalf of everyone in our community. So thank you so much. Y'all have a good evening, and I'll see y'all in a couple of weeks, I suppose.
Thank you. Ms. Mackey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard to the Legislative Committee and Dr. Mills, I echo the sentiments of my colleagues here. And there's not a whole lot more that I can say that I didn't say during the inspirational moment. One of my colleagues on another school board likes to say, keep the main thing, the main thing. The main thing is all of us working together collectively, not one individual, the staff, the superintendent, teachers, principals, to educate our students in Richland too, in the midst of a pandemic, the size of which this nation has never seen. COVID is taking lives every day and affecting families directly and indirectly. The health and safety concerns that we focus on and our teachers who are on the front lines, that is the main thing, not any one person on this board. That is the main thing. And I want to thank you all for what you're doing. Bless you. Please stay safe. Have a good evening. And I cannot express enough thank yous in enough capital letters with enough exclamation marks at the end. Bless y'all.
Thank you. Dr. Davis?
Happy New Year to everyone, and to my staff. Again, thank you all for another outstanding board meeting. Thank you for the work that you do in preparation for these meetings and ensure that they go as smooth as possible. To our technology staff that is here, thank you all for what you do to make sure that these things take place every 2 weeks. To our board, again, thank you, and we truly appreciate you for all the work that you are doing here in this community to lead and do what's best for the students, their families, and all of our employees. As you all know, many school districts across the state, including Richland School District 2, are in the position of deciding whether or not to resume in-person instruction after the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Prior to the winter break, Richland 2 announced a temporary shift to e-learning for all students from January 4th to January the 15th. Our district made this change based on the surge in the numbers of employees placed in quarantine after Thanksgiving break. Right before winter break, we were nearing a critical point in terms of having enough employees available to safely operate our schools. We were concerned that the weeks following winter break could place an even greater strain on the district's operations. We wanted to avoid an unexpected shutdown after winter break. In deciding what to do after January the 15th, we first must examine data and the number of students and staff who are in isolation or quarantine now and who will be in isolation and quarantine as of January the 19th. The e-learning triggers we established in November provide guidance on when to switch to an all virtual learning for a class, school, or district based on those numbers. As of yesterday, the number of employees in isolation and quarantine would not impact our ability to operate our schools. However, the district administrators are monitoring these numbers regularly and closely each and every day. Today, at least 2 districts announced that they would be extending virtual learning beyond January the 19th. We are certainly paying attention to what those districts are doing and why they're making those decisions. We are also following closely and speaking with those districts who have already resumed in-person instruction. Now, I recognize that our families have strong feelings and concerns on both sides of this decision. No doubt the incident rates throughout our state are reasons for extreme concern and for additional consideration regarding our plans. I'm asking our Board of Trustees to consider holding an emergency meeting to assess other reasons for possibly extending virtual learning for all of our students beyond January the 15th, if needed. As always, a decision that impacts the Richland 2 family will involve great care, great deliberation, and a lot of critical thought. We appreciate your continued patience, and we ask for your continued support. And I would like to add or leave with just an additional shout out. I would like to take an opportunity to say happy birthday, happy 50th birthday to my lovely bride, Pam. I hope you had a great day and enjoyed your 50th birthday We've been celebrating probably since the 1st of January. And I'm afraid we're going to celebrate until the end of January. But happy 50th birthday, honey. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. So yeah, we will have that emergency meeting to have the discussion. So I appreciate the board. I know that's additional time that was unexpected, but obviously a very serious issue and one that we need to take the time to address. So thank you for setting aside additional time for us to have that discussion with the administration. So as it was stated earlier, teachers, parents, we are receiving your emails, we are listening, and we are going to make that very tough decision that has to be made. It will not be voted on. Administration will continue to make the final decision, but they will have input from the board, which is important to have all of us on the same page. So thank you to administration for providing that opportunity. Again, we can't say enough to staff. Thank you. There are so many people throughout this district that do so much to make all this happen, not just our meetings, but everyday school, whether we're in school or not, virtual learning or otherwise. So thank you to everyone for the sacrifices that you all are making on behalf of all of the parents and others in the district. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Mills, for the Richland 2 Charter High School report. I certainly appreciate that update and our continued partnership that we have with you all. With that, I will have a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you very much. Motion made by Ms. Mackey. Do I have a second? Second by Dr. Caution Parker. Is there any discussion? With that, all raise your right hand, please, if you're in favor. There we go. Ms. Agostini, were you? Sorry. I learned to make sure I see raised hands so that we don't get in trouble. So thank you. Motion passes 7-0. We are now adjourned. Thank you.